Okay, get that. Okay, so before we actually record, Scott, the both Mark and Kathryn haven't had a time to look over your information. So maybe you can just briefly educate us on what Shiftpixy does, and then we'll actually record.
Sure. Yeah, Shiftpixy actually started as an idea about a little over a year ago, and it was really a result of both myself and our co-founder, Steve Holmes, had a pretty extensive experience, both of us over 20 years in the employer services arena, providing compliance and human capital management services to Small Business USA. And about the time the Affordable Care Act started making its march into the economy, I think a lot of us in that employer services industry really took a step back and didn't want to get anywhere near it. I think the conventional wisdom was, let's see what happens. Maybe Congress will intervene or the courts will intervene. Steve, on the other hand, thought, you know what, I'm not going to take that chance. In his particular case, he did a lot of work with restaurant and hospitality groups, and in the way the Affordable Care Act was constructed, they were probably the most vulnerable. And so he said, I think I'm really gonna focus on this because I don't have any confidence this is gonna go away. And to his credit, he was right. And one of the things that he observed is when he talked to a lot of his clients about what their plans were in dealing with it, and again, people didn't really have a full understanding of what the implications were until just recently. But they said, well, what we'll do is we'll just knock everybody to 29 hours. That was the knee-jerk reaction. And that's great, but now you've got to fill out the rest of your dance card with more people that are interested in working 29 hours. And so that permanent fracture there in the economy became the birthplace for Shiftpixy.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
So
well, I'll tell you what.
Our position was we get in there and help intermediate those 29-hour shift gaps.
Okay.
Well, so I'm trying to figure out. So Scott, obviously, we want to make it good radio and impactful for
Right.
you and for us, and we have a limited time slot. So and I can tell Edwards was just trying to get us going here. I'm okay for a second. I still want to know kind of what is there a way you can like quickly encapsulate, and then we'll try to embed this in the show. But so Shiftpixy, what is it that you're doing? As succinctly as you can say it. What are you contributing to the marketplace? Thanks to this new opportunity that came on board with the Healthcare Act.
Well, what's happened is now that everybody's been pushed to 29 hours in these types of operations, the question is, how do you find more people to work 29 hours if you're a job provider, and if you're a shift worker and you've been pushed to 29 hours, how do you restore full-time employment? How do you restore a 40-hour work?
And is 29 is that a magic number because it's under 30
Yeah,
hours?
that's the number. That's the magic number. If they're below 29 hours and not full-time equivalent, then the business does not have to worry about compliance.
Okay, so that's kind of the key I
Yep.
see for getting this. Like we said, we have only so much time on for an interview, and we want to make good radio.
Right.
So
Gotcha.
So you've got a solution for companies that have decided to come in under the wire with 29-hour limits to avoid the Obamacare compliance and avoid that expensive hit of insurance. And so you're a company that comes and provides, I guess, human resource for all businesses, or do you specialize in a certain segment of the
Well,
market?
we're focused right now on restaurant and hospitality.
Aha.
Gotcha. Okay, all right. So
They're the most vulnerable.
okay, so what we'll do is I do a little introduction here, and then when I say today's special guest is Scott Absher from Shiftpixy, then you can say, well, thanks for having me, and then we'll start asking some questions.
Yeah, we'll start out. We'll ask. Maybe I'll probably ask you the first question, Scott, and get it going.
Sure.
Okay, you guys ready? All right, let's do this. Here we go. Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing on Talk 910 I'm your host, Edward Brown. I'm proud to house my co-host, Mark Hahn from Pacific Private Money, one of California's fastest growing mortgage investment firms, and Kathryn Harris of Parati and Karad. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during this show. Now, the vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort and Marina, located about 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. But those vacations are free. Their only request, a $100 cleaning fee to cover the housekeeping expenses. And in honor of Kathryn, because she has little kids, the trivia theme today is Disney movies. Okay, so you'll get all these.
those.
Yeah, we all like that. Okay, our website's bestinvesting.com. Check us out. Anyway, today's special guest is Scott Absher from Shiftpixy. Scott, welcome to the Best of Investing.
Well, thanks, Ed. Thanks for having me aboard.
Okay.
So for our audience, Shiftpixy, as we were talking to Scott before we came on the air here, he has a company, and of course I'll let him correct me if I don't explain it correctly. His company is a response to the Obamacare regulations that now require that companies of a certain size pay their full-time employees, provide their full-time employees with health care insurance. And a lot of companies now have discovered this, I guess, trick for, not necessarily trick, but a way to get around that limit, and that's not to have full-time employees. And I guess the magic number is 30 hours a week. So if your employees only work 29 hours a week, you don't have to provide them with health insurance under the Obamacare rules. But if you're a business owner and you need more than employees to work more than 29 hours a week, what do you do? And hence Scott and his partner came up with the Shiftpixy idea. Scott, can you explain a little bit how your company works and how you provide service for your clients?
And how'd you come up with that name?
Yes.
Sure, Mark. In fact, the idea was that for people that were shift workers, the idea that they might be able to pick a shift within their immediate geography that fit their profile and their work interests. That whole idea of being able to pick a shift became the name Shiftpixy, the character Shiftpixy. So that was the evolution of the name.
Very clever. And so you said you specialize in the restaurant and the hospitality industry, and so tell us exactly what you do for that industry.
Yeah, the reason we focused on that industry, Mark, was that they were probably the most vulnerable under the Affordable Care Act. The threshold was 50 employees now, and 50 full-time equivalent employees require the employer to deliver health care coverage even in a minimal fashion. And the issue for the restaurant and hospitality trades is that most small operators, a small restaurant operator would easily have 50 employees, but they've never, as an industry, historically had that part of their overhead, part of their employee overhead,
Right.
Yeah.
provisioning of benefits. So they were very vulnerable because they didn't have that expense. So their knee-jerk reaction, as you pointed out, was just to move everyone to 29 hours to avoid that, and then find more people interested in working 29 hours to fill out their schedule. And therein what became the problem. How do you find more people willing to work 29 hours?
So it sounds like maybe you serve two clientele. You've got the business owners who need more shift workers, but you also are an opportunity for shift workers themselves maybe to fill out or work more hours. Would that be true?
That's correct. And what we've done in doing that is that now that Affordable Care Act responsibility shifts, no pun intended, to Shiftpixy, and it moves away from the job provider. And what we're doing is now, as you point out, we're able to allow a shift worker to fill out their 40 hours without placing that additional burden on the job provider.
Now, are you the employer or are you kind of the matchmaker here?
We're the employer. The way it functions for us is we are the W-2 employer.
Of the shift workers, and then
That's correct.
you contract out with hotels, restaurants.
Well, that's great
To
because
help.
the workers' comp doesn't fall on the restaurant; it would fall on you.
That's correct. That does.
That's
It
great.
does. In fact, we've done some very robust things nationally for our workers' compensation provisioning, and they're very unique to the industry.
Well, then let me ask you the obvious question. Are you paying any of your shift workers more than 29 hours, and do you have to provide health coverage?
Yes,
Yeah.
in fact we do. That's a good point. Our employees are able to track to the 40 hours, and when they hit that level of full-time equivalence, they are offered those benefits.
Which is quite, I think it's actually quite nice.
It
I
is,
think,
yeah.
I imagine you work it out so that there's economy of scales, but you're able to provide a rate for the restaurants that they can absorb or afford. You get employees who needed health insurance. I mean, health insurance is expensive. So it's great to be able to even offer to employees. So your employees now get the ability to have the health insurance, hit the 40 hours, and not have to work 29 hours. I mean, 29 hours isn't much nowadays, especially in that industry.
You're exactly right, Kathryn. One of the things that's, we're trying to restore some dignity to part-time work. There were a lot of people, I would say that one of the unintended consequences of the Affordable Care Act was some of the very people they were trying to help ended up really on the wrong side of the
I've heard that before.
So now we're restoring some of the dignity there. We're restoring that loss of income for them as well, and providing a way for small business operators to really fix their overhead and maintain their compliance, load balance, if you will, their schedule so that they don't run over the 29 hours. And then we put that compliance burden on our side of the firewall.
Well, Scott, let me ask you something because I'm a little bit confused here because I know that there's no free lunch. So if you're providing the worker with health care, aren't you forced to charge out his hourly rate to, say, the restaurateur or hospitality company? Don't you have to charge a rate that almost essentially has them absorbing that cost and covering it?
Yeah, I will. Part of the function here, as Kathryn pointed out, there's an economy of scale that works in our favor here.
Excellent.
Because we're distributing and balancing that between two different employers, the burden gets spread pretty thin and very economical. It's impossible for them to do this on their own because of their own employer identification number. But in our system, we're able to balance, if you might imagine, the employees of one client, client A, and allow them to take on the shift gaps for client B.
Yeah, I know in the dental field, like hygienists go between dentists doing the same sort of thing. How many employees do you have?
Right now we have 3,300 employees in the field that we call shifters.
Wow.
In what region
it's
are
like
you?
Uber in a way.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually going to ask, is it like, is it app oriented?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great comparison. In fact, a lot of people have looked at this as like an Uber for part-time labor.
What's the largest region you serve right now?
Right now, we're focused on Southern California, but we're in the midst of a capital raise with W.R. Hambrick there in your neighborhood, and that's going to allow us to scale out into other major markets around the country.
I guess I don't have to tell you that San Francisco would be a huge market for this service.
It is. It's one of our targets, indeed.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
So I did have a question about just, is it software based? Is this kind of app based? Or are restaurants kind of execute a contract online and kind of this, I'm assuming it's portal, I'm so not IT
Portal driven?
at all. But like, yeah, portal, I'm assuming that's how it has to be done where they have some type of
You're right. It's very technology driven. There's a couple of things that are taking place. Right now, we're spending a lot of time focusing on the development and the placement of job provider clients, and that becomes our primary monetization of the relationship. And then come Labor Day, appropriately enough, we're going to turn on the mobile app for shifters so that they can start looking at opportunities within their proximity and also based on their own personal profile and preference. So that really puts the dome on this ecosystem that we're building.
That's really amazing, and I love the reference to Uber. I mean, do you have competition, or is this are you guys first to market with this idea?
Well, I would tell you that we are. When you look at the gig economy and all those participants, whether it's Uber, Lyft, TaskRabbit, we have other people doing something similar, but they're decidedly non-compliant. As you know, a lot of these folks are running into regulatory tail or headwinds that are causing them some problems. And our original DNA in the business is that of compliance. So we're very different when we drop into the gig economy, and that we're trying to harmonize all the regulatory requirements, but still making these micro opportunities to down to the shift in our case, usable for both business and for the flex worker that wants those opportunities.
Yeah, it's weird. It's almost like a part-time temp agency type of situation, in a way. Right?
Yeah, very functionally, yes. The technology that supports and drives that is very different and very unique to the industry, though.
But you're going to be moving eventually from restaurants to and hotels to other. I mean, you can do.
You can service
all-
several different industries.
Yeah, very very different. Yeah, I mean, you can service a lot of different industries.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, right now we're focused on this industry niche, this vertical, because it's so large and so needed. But as you might imagine, we've got other verticals, healthcare, home healthcare as an example, the other service industries.
Yeah.
They're all in need of this type of approach and this type of support.
Okay, so if I am listening to the show and I am a restaurant worker, I might be interested in downloading your. Well, you don't have the app yet, but I mean, just checking out at Shiftpixy, Pixy.com.
That's right.
Going onto your website.
Yep.
And then
on our website, somebody that would say a prospective shifter, as we call them, we're archiving and collecting information as they go in there. And the purpose of that is when we do launch the app on Labor Day, that they'll be one of the first notified.
Very cool.
So Scott, if I'm an employer or a potential employee, either one, I would go to your website, shiftpixy.com.
That's correct. And we've got inquiry tabs there for whether they're an investor or whether they're a business owner or whether they're a shift worker.
Very good.
And then could you confirm again the spelling of Shiftpixy?
Yes, it is shift, like in work shift, SHIFT, Pixy, PIXY.com.
Okay, PIXY.com. Awesome, Scott. Great
Scott,
idea,
thank
and
you very much.
best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the Best of Investing.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Bye-bye. Very interesting idea.
That is really cool.
Well, I think that there was one off air when we were getting ready for it. We kind of thought it was more of a matchmaker, and it's not. I think he's really blended the worlds very well,
Yeah.
which is what Uber is kind of getting this
Exactly.
touted for. Is people say, oh, these drivers make $100,000, but after paying their miles and gas
gas,
and everything,
sure.
they're making so little. Whereas this one, I think they offer the benefits for an employee, which is fantastic.
Very cool idea. All right, so we're going to cut to our first commercial break here. Again, we're talking Disney movies. And of course, I have to ask some kind of hard questions. Okay. Actually, these aren't too bad, really. What was the monkey's name from The Lion King? Now, technically, I guess he was a mandrill, not a monkey. But what was his name? You remember that? It was kind of like the guru in the beginning of mostly in the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
The first caller with the correct answer is going to win a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190 to answer that question. What was the name of the monkey or mandrill? Name, because nobody knows what a mandrill is, from The Lion King. All right, stay with us. The Best of Investing. We'll be right back. Okay. Okay, so email questions for Mark.
Sorry, you emailed me when I was on vacation.
I'm sorry, where'd you go?
LA.
How was it? And do the Disney?
God, no.
What's happening with it next year? Start amping myself up for it. I have two coworkers. They're adults. Go, I think twice a year.
You know, it's funny. I
They
even
just-
I did it as an adult, and it was fun. Yeah.
Yes.
That's funny.
I go on a weekday when it wasn't so crowded, but
Too
my
good.
God, still is. It's
Still.
amazing. But I will applaud them. They definitely they take it to the nines.
You don't have to
They
the
do
kids
not
kind
cut
of
any
feel,
corners.
There's some people who like the whole honeymoons and stuff.
Yes.
It's cute.
I know they dress in costume.
Oh, they do?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so they're there.
Oh, they're yeah.
That's cute. Okay, so Mark, it says here, when I went to my bank for a loan, they said they would not use the appraisal I provided and made me pay for a new one. Why? Do you guys do the same?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Went to the bank, they said they wouldn't use the appraisal I provided them. They
Oh,
paid for it.
yeah.
And Kathryn, should my CPA charge by the hour or by the job? Is there a material difference? Okay. Are we ready?
We are. Do you want to start?
Okay.
Sure.
Good.
Do you have
Yeah,
some
I
stuff
brought
here?
some other articles,
Okay.
but I think let's go through questions. And
I've got good news too.
Okay. There we go. And I have a couple of little small things here.
All right.
There we go. Well, welcome back to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hahn and Kathryn Harris. First commercial break, trivia question, Disney movies. What was the monkey's name or Angel's name from The Lion King?
The Circle of Life. I totally forget even though I've watched that movie, not for a long time, but when it came out, probably about 20 times
Yeah,
with
exactly.
my kids.
Rafiki.
Oh, that's right. Rafiki.
Yes.
Yes, okay, we're all 0 for 1
I
on
can't
that
believe
one.
I didn't remember that because in our family we've been referring to traffic as trafiki for all these years from the Lion King movie.
That's right. Okay, so before we get into email time, I want to make a couple of announcements here. First of all, join Sail Now. You ever heard of that? That's pretty cool. Sailing in the beautiful San Francisco Bay. You can enjoy a picnic lunch on Angel Island, depending upon which cruise you choose. And they typically only have a maximum of 4 people on this boat.
Oh, wow.
So you can go to www.sailnow.com or call 650-619-6896. Okay, so email questions we have here. Mark says here, I went to my bank for a loan. They said they would not use the appraisal I provided and made me pay for a new one. Why? And do you guys do that?
So in conventional mortgage loan origination, now there are lots and lots and lots of new rules that were enacted after the financial meltdown of 2008. And among those reforms were in the appraisal industry. And so just to keep it simple here, there's just many things that banks and conventional mortgage brokers cannot do anymore. One of them is they can't order appraisals directly from appraisers. They have to go through an appraisal management service company. And so it's kind of like a blind order that way, because a lot of what was happening prior to 2008 when mortgages were being given out like candy, is that there was a lot of mortgage fraud and there was a lot of appraisal fraud, and a lot of appraisers were making appraisals basically made to order. Whatever number they needed to come in with, that's the number they came up with.
That's what they came at MAI, made as instructed.
Made as instructed, right? So among the reforms were in the appraisal portion of mortgage loan origination, and so they have to now order through a service, not directly through an appraiser, and they can't use an appraisal that wasn't ordered through their appraisal service. So you as a borrower can't go to a conventional mortgage loan originator and say, hey, I've got this appraisal. It was just ordered, I paid for it. It was just, it's new. It's less than 30 days old or 60 days old. They can't use that. They're prohibited from using that. And again, that's unfortunate. And so if you're going through multiple, mortgage loan applications, you might find yourself having to wait for many different appraisals to be made on your property. Now, in the private or alternative loan industry, which is what Pacific Private Money serves, we do not have to abide by those specific mortgage restrictions. We do have to abide by many of the new regulations that were as a result of the Dodd-Frank financial reforms, but the appraisal part of it is not one of them. You can bring your appraisal to a private lender like Pacific Private Money, and we can use that appraisal. Now, of course, we will review it, and it's possible we may not like it. We may want to have it reviewed, or we may want to order our own appraisal. But with the exception of an owner-occupied loan, if you come to us, say, with an investment property, we don't even have to get an appraisal on that. We're not obligated to order a formal appraisal, which oftentimes runs anywhere from $400 to $600. So that's another neat benefit. Yes, it's kind of the good news, not so good news. And if you have to go to an alternative lending source like Pacific Private Money, you're not going to find a 4 or 5% note rate. You're likely to pay more like 9 or 10%. But among the many ways that companies like ours make borrowing much easier is that we don't make you jump through appraisal hoops. We can use your appraisal or waive the appraisal requirement. And of course, we can close much more quickly, and we can use subjective information that you tell us, as opposed to having to wade through 100 pages of bank statements and tax returns and all that other nonsense. So really, it's all about speed, convenience, and allowing you to get that money much more easily, faster, more efficient than you can through any bank. That's really one of the goals at companies like Pacific Private Money is just to be fast, friendly, efficient, and reliable. So that's the business market we serve. So thanks for the question.
Sure. How do people get a hold of you?
So PacificPrivateMoney.com, best way to reach us if you're looking for potentially alternative financing, or if you're an investor looking to diversify your savings. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on in the show. We'll talk about how you can earn 8% on
He said
your
8%
savings
there.
and IRA.
It wasn't
accounts.
0.8%, it was
You
8.0%.
can earn 8% on your savings through the Pacific Private Money Fund. More later.
Okay. And Kathryn, being a CPA, question comes in. It says, should my CPA charge by the hour or by the job? Is there a material difference?
Hello, my name is Kathryn Harris. I am a CPA here in Marin, and I charge by the hour. And to be honest, there really isn't going to be much of a difference if you go to your CPA and they charge either a flat rate, or oftentimes they will give you a range or an estimate. And to be honest, if you charge by the hour, it's about how many hours you're going to be putting into it. And if you charge by the number of forms that have to be filled out, it's often based on the number of hours that have to go into it. So usually at the end of the day, there isn't much of a material difference. What I would say is the biggest factor when you're looking for a CPA is the relationship and the trust. I often make a reference to, yes, we're not necessarily a doctor, yes, we're not necessarily your investment advisor, but we're very, very close behind those two. And you usually don't, though it's important to ask about your financial advisor, their fees. It's the relationship that you want to have with your CPA and who they are in your dynamic of your financial health when it works with your financial advisor, your CPA, your state attorney. Those are three individuals who really need to work together, and you do need to have a lot of trust in those individuals. So oftentimes I say don't necessarily look for the dollar and the lowest price. You want to look for the quality, the relationship that you can have with your CPA, and the comfort level that you have.
Right, you're not buying office supplies here.
Okay.
Excellent point.
Well, I mean, consulting services are like that. I mean, it's the same with attorneys. I mean, people complain about an attorney, might cost $250 an hour. It might cost $500 an hour. Some attorneys that I work with are $750 an hour. But they all have their specialties, and that's you get what you pay for much of the time when it comes to very important consulting services like your CPA.
Kathryn, how do people get a hold of you?
I can be reached at 415-461-8500. Best way to reach me.
Okay, then people can ask you, this is what I want you to do.
Yeah.
What I need done.
Well, funny
give an
that
estimate.
that was one of the about 6 months ago we were sitting here talking about New Year's resolutions, and one of my articles, or one of the things I want to talk about today was where are you on your New Year's resolutions? And what we talked about was
it just happens to be the end of 6 months.
Yes.
6 months into the year.
So in that we talked about trying to do something once a month, and we're at the 6 month mark, which is reevaluate and assess and look forward. Usually we're 6 months done with the year, and usually we've got at least the next 3 months a good sense of what's happening.
Yeah.
So you can take a look back and look forward, so that you can either do some tax planning, so that's a great time to call me, or call your CPA. You can also just reevaluate your investment portfolio. This is a good time to just reassess where you are through the year, what your goals were for the year, if you need to tweak those goals, refine those budgets for the remaining 6 months of this year.
I love that. I'm doing the same thing myself with my company right now. I love measuring and setting goals on a quarterly basis. I find that month to month it's too volatile. It also comes too quickly. It's like I just did that. But if you plan and project and analyze and view your KPIs, your key performance indicators for your business or for your life on a quarterly basis, I think it's much more manageable. Then you're doing 4 times a year, not 10 or 12 times a year.
And it holds you more accountable. I think that
I was just gonna say,
it gives you more. I think it keeps you on task. It keeps you on the drive going to hit those numbers, to hit the number of new clients that you want, to hit the number of volume, whatever it is that your goal was for the year. It keeps you on task.
The other thing I like about doing it on a quarterly basis is that you can always have then a rolling 12-month backwards and forwards. So you can look at the previous 12 months, the last 4 quarters, look at the next 4 quarters, and just kind of continue to kind of roll forward. It's like a rolling forecast of your business. I love that rolling 90-day forecast. And I didn't make it up. I read it in a coaching article one time, and I just thought that would work better for my particular business. And again, some businesses are set up where they really they look at it on a monthly basis, maybe even a weekly basis. But I know for us in the lending business, because you just have peaks and valleys, you can't look at any one month in my business industry and get any value from it. But on a quarterly basis, there's consistency. I can compare quarter over quarter from a year prior. I can really gauge the growth. And again, if you're not looking at that, if you're just flying blind, you're lucky if you're going to be making money in this economy.
Very good. Okay, we're going to catch another commercial break. Before we do, I want to make a quick mention here for the Weingarten Children's Center. Now, they gave us, they had a golf tournament.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, in early June, and it was awesome.
Where was
It
it?
was in San Mateo, Peninsula Golf and Country Club. It was excellent. And now what they're doing is they're going to have their second annual chili cook-off at the San Jose Flea Market on Saturday, July 23rd, where last year's contestants, one of them, went on to win the World Championship chili cook-off.
Wow.
That was really good. So taste delicious chili while helping children. Learn more and support today at listenspeaklearn.org. Okay, so here's our second Disney Disney trivia question. So here we go. This one you guys will get. What is the song in the beginning of The Lion King? What's the song? Right? Okay, the first caller with the correct answer wins that free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190 to answer that question. Don't touch that dial, because we come back, we've got some interesting articles to go over. Yeah, baby.
What did you bring?
How to fund your Roth, super fund your Roth IRA.
Oh.
So a couple of things
Okay.
to
That'll be good.
Yeah, let's
Opt
talk
in.
about that. Sounds good. I've got some interesting.
What else was
Man, I'm getting hungry.
there? Oh, you didn't eat lunch today?
Well, no, I'm on 500 calories a day.
What?
Yeah, I'm down almost 14 pounds.
Why?
Because my wife told me I had to.
What do you eat for
5 ounces of like
Water.
chicken breast, 5 ounces of chicken breast, and then some salad stuff, and then I give myself a shot of HCG. I'm like a pregnant woman, but in fact today was my last shot, so I can kind of go back.
Are you getting to your goal where you want to try to maintain?
Yeah, I wanted to get 175, and I'm down to about 180. So I've got another 5 pounds to go. I'm not sure if I'm going to get quite that far, but again, then I have to slowly. I literally have not had candy or sugar in 3 weeks, and that's
This is
really-
torture.
It
That
is.
is painful.
But this shot really helps. It kind of, takes the edge off. Okay.
There's your ounce of water.
What's that?
There's your water.
There's your water, yes. No calorie water. Okay, ready? Here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hunt and Kathryn Harris. Second trivia question. What's the song in the beginning of the movie The Lion King? Go on.
Circle of Life.
Yes, that's
There
good.
we go.
You said
Elton
it last
John.
time. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Elton John. Okay, actually, I like the other song better, but
I'm a Circle of Life.
It's a good.
Oh,
just
that's true. That's good too.
It's a good soundtrack.
I mean, literally, I cried when the two of those they got together. I mean, I'll tell you, Disney movies always do that to me. Kathryn, you got some very interesting stuff for us.
Yeah, well, you know what? A couple questions that come up often when I speak with people, especially the first time I meet with clients, is just what can I do to reduce my taxes? That's generally what questions
Make less
everyone
money.
asks. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Oftentimes, well, you know what? To be honest, I'm sidetracking now. People are like, "Well, how do I? If I make more, will I make less?" I'm like,
Yeah, you're not.
there are very, 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 very limited, unusual, crazy
Yeah.
circumstances where that's going to be the case. But oftentimes, when you make $1, you're going to be paying some more in taxes, but you're not going to be out of $1. You
Yeah.
still will be making some
It's a
money.
progressive.
So, please, yes, exactly that. But there's an article that came up, and I was, you know what? There's for 2 options. So for those who are employees, a more recent retirement option that's becoming available to you, and it's the Roth 401k, which is very similar to a Roth IRA. So the big difference is the Roth. Roth is after-tax dollars. When you contribute to a Roth IRA, you're limited to, we'll say, about $5,000, give or take.
Unless you're old like Edward and I, you can do some catch-up payments.
Yeah, whole thing like $1,000. But yes, you guys get to gamble away and get that
Speak for
extra.
yourself. Go ahead.
Now with the Roth 401k, you can put up to almost 18,000 or so. So in Roth is again after-tax dollars. So this is a great benefit to employees who are in the lower tax rate, just because you are paying in at a low. Your after-tax dollars are worth more than when you're a higher income earner. But it also, with Roth 401ks, there isn't any limits. So usually when you are putting money into a retirement account, if you make more than a certain dollar amount, we'll say about 150,000, 180,000 rough, you start to be limited out, and it starts being reduced to a point where you can't make any contributions into a Roth IRA or even potentially an IRA. This is not the case for the Roth 401k. So this offering is often only available to companies that have employees. So it's not for the sole entrepreneurs. This is for people who work for employers that got 50, 100,000 employees. That's a great option, especially if you have a 401k and you max it out and you just want to save more. You're not saving much in taxes now, but you are going to save it down the line when you don't have to pay taxes when you actually take that money out. That's the great benefit of a Roth over a traditional IRA or a traditional 401k.
So this 18,000 is only available to people who are employees.
Correct.
And is it limited to the type of employer? Like, do you have to have a minimum 100 employees or anything? Or is it,
No.
Okay.
No, it just has to be. It just has to be offered in your retirement plan. So oftentimes when you have a retirement plan, you have a 401k plan, you can offer in that plan pre-tax contributions and after-tax, post-tax contributions. So it just has to be. So I would say, listeners out there, if you're in HR, hey, this is again a newer option in the 401k arena, and consider it for yourself, consider it for the employees, consider it for the company. It's a great option out there.
Yeah, I'm skeptical from the standpoint of, I think at some point they've been saying
Yes.
Roth IRAs, and all that. It's like, don't worry. When it's time to take the money out, you won't have to pay taxes. I get the feeling that they're going to change things.
I can appreciate that, and what I would say to that is there's so much building up into those accounts that
exactly.
they would have. There's got to be some protection for at least the contributions that have been put in place before, where you get basis. It's kind of like getting basis in it, so
that would be ridiculous.
Where you at least get some tracking of it and say, okay, hold on, any contributions after this date, and there's going to have to be some crazy tracking. God knows there's enough compliance tracking.
So Kathryn, I got a question for you. So we work with a lot of self-directed IRA custodians in our business, because a lot of people use that to self-direct the money they have in their IRA, so they can invest in alternative investments like our mortgage pool fund. So I know that many of these companies have various different products. I've heard of something called, you just talked about a 401k for people, a Roth version of the 401k for people with employees, but I've heard of this thing called like a solo 401k or solo K. How does that work?
And that was my next one, which is kind of what this.
You
right. So there's the Roth 401k is really one of the options more for employees who are W-2. For those who are self-employed, who have maybe a single member LLC, or who have their own S corporation and they're the only employer, there's the new product out there. Again, it's all newer language. It's the solo 401k. And it's almost like the counterpart to a SEP IRA. So SEP IRA is for those who are the sole business owners, got a Schedule C on their tax return. They can usually put up to 25% of their net earnings into a pre-tax into a pre-tax IRA account. With a solo 401k, it's not capped at a percentage, but a dollar amount. So and it's usually a much better offering than a solo 401k, because people just assume most people make between net $50,000 to $200,000, 25% of that is no more than $50,000. Well, with the solo 401k, you could potentially put up to almost $59,000. Again, depending on your catch-ups and all that good stuff. But if you only make $100,000, you can be putting in $30,000, $40,000 into the solo 401k options rather than being capped at that SEP IRA.
I like when you say only $100,000. Only in the Bay Area.
I know.
you can say
It's so bad. If we take the national average, right, and especially that, but
What you talking about? Only $100,000.
We need that. We need every dollar just to pay rent with that.
That's
But
right.
the solo 401k is a newer option, a newer vehicle. It acts very similar to a SEP IRA pre-tax.
And do you help people set those up?
We don't help them set them up. We'll help explain to them, and we'll recommend out to the investment
Oh
advisors.
yeah, if you're
so they
driving
can-
around out there and you're thinking to yourself, I've been meaning to set up one of these IRAs, but I'm just completely confused
Yeah.
by all the choices. Like me, it's just I still can't keep them all keep my head straight on all those various ones. That's why I use other companies and professionals like Kathryn.
Professionals, exactly. Yes, and I just sat with some people today. They just created their own. They were going from a W-2 employee, and now they're going to create their own business. They're now consultants. It's okay. You need to start doing this. This is a great option for you.
Very
Get on
important.
top of it. Again, while you reassess your 2016, and if things have changed, whether you need to make any changes to your retirement accounts.
Very good. Tell you what, we're going to cut to a commercial break. And here is our last Disney question. What is the sea witch's name in The Little Mermaid?
Not
You got that one. Okay, the first caller.
that. I think I shouldn't say with such confidence.
The first caller with the correct answer wins a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190 to answer that question. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back.
Well, I know what she looks like. We have a little doll of her somewhere, but it's
We'll let Kathryn answer that.
Ursula?
Ursula, yes.
I read that book many nights. I don't have Lion King.
Remember when we first got surround sound, we tested it with that movie. It was great.
Yes.
When they'll run down the thing and Mustafa gets killed or whatever his name is. Mufasa.
Oh, yes.
Mufasa.
That's the name I can remember.
Ooh, Mufasa.
Yeah.
Just staring at his
Good call.
chills, Mufasa.
Yeah.
They should do a sequel to that.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen? No, you guys haven't. I was gonna say Finding Dory.
Haven't seen it yet.
Pixar makes just really good movies.
Yeah.
They just do.
I mean, Finding
Have you ever
Nemo
seen
was
Up?
good, but, yeah.
I never saw Up, but I know
Up
it was
is.
I
I
couldn't
cried.
stand that movie.
Why?
I mean, I thought the kid was kind of cute, but I don't like Ed Asner and his. It was depressing.
It is different.
Well, Ed
But it's-
Asner's
I
such
mean,
a flaming liberal, I can't
I know,
stand
but
looking at him
that-
anymore.
That part it's hard for me too. He was just depressing. I mean, there were some parts that were kind of touching, like the wife dying and stuff like that. But Kevin, where's Kevin? That was kind of funny. Okay, but it just dragged on. So let's go.
Should be a healthy segment.
Yeah, I think so.
Person looks happy over there.
That's because she's saving.
She's
She's
stuffing money into
her
a
piggy bank. She's so happy. She's stuffing her hundreds.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, you're right. This segment is going to be 11 minutes. And 31 seconds.
You don't want to use a calculator on that?
Never does.
I know.
How much?
11:39.
Okay, good. So
Well, it's
I'll
hard
leave.
Yeah.
because we're not
I'll
talking
lead off on
100,
the next one.
60.
Pardon me?
60 seconds. 60,
Yes.
That's why it's kind of hard to. 30 plus 45 doesn't equal 75. Equals a minute and 15 seconds. Okay, you ready? Let's do this.
Imagine you made a mistake way back when. Like,
One
oh,
time,
man.
There you go. Yeah, 3 more minutes to go. All right.
Are most Roth IRAs self-directed, or no? Or does
Doesn't
it
matter.
matter?
Wait.
So it's either a Roth or traditional, and it can be with a brokerage.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay.
The 401ks usually are with the
Yeah.
employer.
We'll go back to Mark?
Yeah.
We get your deal of the week. Deal of the week.
Well, I want to know how to do. I want to learn how to earn 8%.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about Brexit and the last week and last night.
Year.
The last year, right? Exactly.
Last day that we meet up in
I don't
2 days.
No. Basically, the last year was at 18,000. We're close to 18,000 now. So
I don't really have a deal of the week, but
Okay.
I can talk about that.
Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark On and Kathryn Harris. Last trivia question, and Kathryn's busting at the seams. She knows the answer to this one. What is the sea witch's name in The Little Mermaid?
Ursula.
Ursula. That is correct. All right.
Right.
Mark, you got some very interesting economic stuff for us.
Well, we last week, what was the news of the week? The British vote, so-called Brexit, and how it just hammered the marketplace. The stock market went down for 2 days in a row, and there was all this hand-wringing and sobbing in the media, and people blaming Britain for its impact on their 401ks, but it's funny because didn't you know it was just going to the stock market was just going to come back up again? And how many times this year have we got, or how many times in the last 12 months has there been some supposedly bad, and maybe not even bad economic news, and we have this, sell-off in the stock market, goes down 500 points, whoa, everything's going to heck in a handbasket. And then what happens the following week? I guess it's all over now. Like when oil prices were falling, that was supposedly bad for segments of the marketplace, and the stocks took a big down. So anyway, stocks have largely recovered. They're still a little bit below where they were before the start of it. But what I want to talk about is just, it's, first of all, the stock market, and we talked about this on a show a few weeks back, the stock market is an extremely poor indicator or even predictor of what's happening in the economy or what's going to happen in the economy.
Especially from day to day.
And
week to week.
And the individual investor is completely helpless in having any impact on the stock market going up or going down, because it's all the huge players, the people who make money shorting stocks and selling large quantities and making money through arbitrage and speed trading or whatever they call that.
Those are some fancy words you're speaking there, Mr. Hahn.
So what's a person to do? And we also talked last week a little bit about, and I'm going to repeat it because I know a lot of people listen to our show kind of randomly as they're driving around. If you're driving around this holiday weekend, you happen to be listening. Year over year, July 1st to July 1st, the stock market has made exactly zero return in the last 12 months. Yes, it's gone down, and yes, it's gone back up, and it's gone a little bit over 18,000 and it's come back down. But a year ago today, stock market was basically at 18,000.
Yep,
Today it's at 18,000.
That's better than a couple of countries that are doing negative interest. You actually have to pay them.
That's true. So, but that's true for all the indexes. It's true for the S&P 500, the Russell 2000, the Nasdaq, the Dow Jones. Doesn't matter what index or EFT you were in. If you were in a U.S. Index investment, U.S. index-based investment, you've basically seen a zero growth overall in your in that portion of your savings portfolio over the last 12 months. And I got to tell you, there's not a lot of people predicting that the market is going to perform in any meaningful way in the next 12 to 24 months. In fact, the articles I'm reading are suggesting that the stock market is likely to underperform. And what does that mean? Well, underperform could mean 2%, 4%, 5%, maybe if you're lucky. And if you're trying to market time, God bless you. That's really, really difficult. But I will tell you that there's still one segment of the marketplace that, in my opinion, is extremely strong. And we've talked about for years on this show the so-called best kept secret in investing today, and that is mortgage-based investing. Basing your investment, a portion of your investment portfolio that's essentially tied to lending on real estate. Because whether you think real estate values are slowing down in the Bay Area, and in many marketplaces they are, whether you think even real estate values might be going down a little bit in some marketplaces in the Bay Area, and yes, in some overheated marketplaces they are, or if they're still going up, and in some marketplaces in the Bay Area they are, because of course real estate is a neighborhood and neighborhood by neighborhood industry. Whether it's staying flat, going up, or going down, lending on real estate is extremely safe from an investment perspective. In fact, if you invest in individual notes, you're not even really investing because you're lending. Lending is not investing. Lending involves collateral, lending involves security, lending involves insurance. So it's really not investing at all. Now, if you invest in a mortgage pool fund, you indirectly have collateral. That is more of a true investment because the mortgage pool funds can fluctuate in value. However, the way we designed our mortgage pool fund at Pacific Private Money is one where, number one, we don't use leverage to achieve that 8% yield. It's a pure yield based on the fact that we lend out money basically at 10%, and after fund expenses and management fees, we pay our investors, our fund investors, approximately 8%. And that number fluctuates a little bit because it's based on the true income of the fund. Every month we add up the income on an accrual basis, of course, and distribute that income. And for the last 36 months, we have distributed month after month, every month without fail, at an annualized rate at 8% or more. And so I am really I'm impressed with how many new people are coming to our events. We had an event this past week on Wednesday night in downtown Novato at the new shiny offices of Pacific Private Money. We had about 22 people show up to listen to our 30 to 40 minute presentation about what is mortgage investing, what is the Pacific Money Fund, how does a mortgage pool fund work, what are the safety and security features, what are the risks, etc. And so if you're not familiar with mortgage investing or how mortgage pool funds work or investing in individual notes, you really owe it to yourself to learn about that. And the best way to do that is just to give us a call because we've got a lot of information we can share with you. Plus, if you Google search it, there's just a ton of information.
Plus, you're doing monthly.
We're doing monthly presentations. It's generally the last Wednesday of the month, although this coming July we're going to be out of town, so it's going to be the last Tuesday of the month, and we'll keep announcing that. For more information, you really need to reach out to us at pacificprivatemoney.com. All our contact information is there, our local 415 phone number, all our email addresses, all the bios on the people who work for the company, our history, and how it is that we how we generate an 8% yield for our clients. But the very straight, simple matter of it is people come to companies like ours, Pacific Private Money, because we're a very, very fast source for real estate financing. We're fast, we're friendly, we're a lot easier to close a loan with than a bank. And people come to us for a myriad of reasons. One of the most common questions we get from potential investors in our fund is, why on earth would anybody pay 10% for money when you can get it at a bank for 4% or 3.5% now because rates are at an all-time low? And the reason is because, well, you should always get bank financing if you can get bank financing. We don't compete with bank financing. We are an alternative resource for people who need real estate financing and they can't get it from the bank.
In fact, sometimes your referrals will come from the bank.
Absolutely.
Oh, there you go.
Now, why would you not be able to get money from a bank? Well, the number one reason is speed. We deal with a lot of people who need to close next week, and no bank will close with you next week. I don't care if they're the best bank in the world and you've got your favorite banker and you got all this money with them. You call them up and ask them for a real estate loan that has to close by next Friday, and once they pick themselves off the floor laughing, it's...
Well, one of the things you mentioned with the email question is they won't accept an appraisal unless they order it themselves.
Right, you can't get an appraisal by next Friday from most appraisers because they're real busy right now with all the refinancing going on and new home transactions. So anyway, that they mostly for speed, and quite frankly, there are still quite a few people that make really good money, but maybe they let an investment property go because they didn't want to play the hero, and valuations, as we all know, in so many markets went down so far that they couldn't hold on to investment property they may have picked up before the crash, and so a lot of good people are still struggling with credit scores. And of course, bank financing and conventional financing is credit score driven. So a lot of different reasons. We also do probate deals. We help people with bridge loans where they want to buy their next house before they sell their existing home, and the bank tells them you don't qualify, even though you make a lot of money. You don't qualify. You don't make enough money to have two, large mortgages at the same time. Your ratios don't quite fit, and a lot of people are shocked to learn that. 10, 20 years ago, you could probably buy as many houses as you want with a good credit score. Not so much anymore. Anyway, for more information on that, do give us a call at Pacific Private Money, 415-883-2150, or just visit pacificprivatemoney.com.
Very good. So I'm going to give our thought. Here's a thought for the day, and something I don't understand. I don't understand why my bank teller was so upset. Okay, I tried to explain that we were just bantering, right? And I tried to explain my new design for a car, part station wagon and part pickup, right? And when she didn't understand, I took out a piece of paper and I drew it for her. And then I said, "See here, this is a stick up." Next thing I knew, I'm at the police department trying to explain, oh wait, part station wagon, part truck. Yeah, now you understand the problem?
Stick up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
never do that in a bank. Never say the word stick
That's
up.
where you were this weekend, huh?
Yeah, exactly, yes. Oh, not good, not good. But anyway, so those are it's like, guy's name is Jack, and if you're in the airport, never say, "Hi, Jack." That's, all these silly little things. Anyway, I want to thank our co-hosts, Kathryn Harris and Mark Hunt, once again.
Happy
Absolutely.
holidays. Happy 4th.
That's right.
Enjoy the 4th, go to a fair.
That's
Watch
right.
the fireworks.
Yeah, yes. Excellent. Okay. Tune in next week to The Best of Investing. Why? Because we're going to be giving away more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown. We're wishing you the best of investing. So long.
What's up, someone today?
Nice. So you obviously weren't outside wearing that today.
No.
Yeah.